The best way to do this, in my opinion, is just to give it to you straight up. No fluff, no filler, no chaser. Here it is. We made a discovery that's so enormous it carries with it the power to profoundly and positively impact an enormous amount of people all over the world. That's an enormous claim. Don't worry, I have enormous backup. And now is the time for us to talk about, at least to start to talk about, what it is we discovered and to share it with you. It's no coincidence and definitely worth mentioning. We couldn't have planned that 2.5 years ago when we made this initial enormous discovery and spent all the time that we did researching thoroughly this discovery and creating a video series about it to share with you, that we would now be releasing it at what we commonly call the beginning of 2020, more specifically the springtime as we come upon it, where things begin anew and where 2020 has obvious associations to clear vision. Nothing could be more deeply poignant. The video series that we created is now ready for anyone who's ready to see it, that is. Before we get to that, let's clarify first who is we that I'm talking about that made this enormous discovery and created this video series. Well, that's Dee and I. Just the two of us together privately. That's who I mean when I say we. So that means that the video series we're so proud to share, being that it's 100% our private creation, means that many of you are going to be among the first people in the world to share in this discovery with us. We decided to do this for no greater reason than we love you. That may sound simple or corny or cheesy to you at first, but it is that simple. It's because we love you. And really, is there any greater reason than love for anything? All right, so get past the mushy stuff, right? Tell me about this so-called big discovery you made already, Shannon. Is that what you're thinking? Well, here we come upon our first dilemma, and it's the biggest reason why we created the video series in the first place. We realize that you just can't tell someone about what it is we found. You can only show them, so that they don't have to believe anything that they're told. They can see it and hear it for themselves. This is about knowing. Equally, perhaps as important, is this. If you're reading these words on a post or you're watching and listening to this in video format, you're doing so online, specifically through a public social media platform. We realized after we made our discovery that the content in our video series was going to be too hot for any public internet space. That means if we even attempted to upload it, which would seem so easy in our modern era, right? The digital age, we would create a video series and under normal circumstances just upload it to one of many public internet spaces and share it far and wide with anybody who'd want to see it. This is not the case with the content of our video series. We know in advance that it is too hot for any public internet platform, and if we attempted to upload it to any of those spaces, it would immediately, if not quickly thereafter, be censored and taken down. Now, that would obviously defeat the whole purpose of us spending 2.5 years worth of our time, energy, efforts into researching our initial discovery to create a video series and to share it with you if you weren't going to be able to see it. So how do we work around something like that? Well, pretty easy solution. We discovered this in private. We created privately this video series. So private speech is not subject to public censorship. So that's the route we're going. We're keeping it private. We're going old school with this, the good old-fashioned word-of-mouth, offline, private way of sharing it. And I'm saying in this public internet space, all I really can about the content of the video series, and I realize that means I can't say anything about it, or I would risk this very post or video being censored. Now, nothing of what I've explained so far about any of this should be interpreted by anyone as me trying to falsely hype up our discovery or our video series to try to intrigue you to make you want to see it more. because as soon as you do, you'll know that a truth this enormous doesn't need any hype at all. Not any false hype, and not even any real hype from anyone. The truth of it, well, it's its own power, and it stands completely on its own. What I've said here and what we share in our video series is given to you with our utmost sincerity, honesty, and integrity. Just like I said at the beginning when we started here, it's straight up, no fluff, no fillers, no chasers. I also mentioned when we started that this discovery does have the power to positively impact potentially the entire world. But that doesn't mean that everyone in the world is going to be ready to see what we have to show them right now. For many, many people, this is just going to be too enormous, too much for them to be able to see. And I'm going to trust that if you were one of those people, you wouldn't be here. You would have already stopped reading or watching and listening to this for one reason or another. Maybe you would have just kept scrolling on your social media feed and never land on this post at all. Perhaps you started reading or listening and a phone call, something that simple, pulled you away, and you forgot all about it. Obviously, I'm not talking about you, but Dee and I do realize that many of those that are not ready will be our own family members and friends. We both know that. We knew it when we made this discovery 2.5 years ago, and we know it even more so now, and that's okay. But the discovery that we made in the video series that we created about it to share with you is too important to let anything stop us. And we have to share it first and foremost with the most honest, ethical, and courageous people among us. I'm talking about those real people. You may be lucky enough to know 1, 2, or maybe a few. Maybe some of your family members and friends. You know, those people that you actually know have the highest integrity. They're the not for hype or flash type people. You know, those real people, the strong-minded ones, the steady, discerning, the critical thinker, those that think for themselves. That's the kind of real people I'm talking about. This is a good description of the audience that is probably most ready to see this discovery and discover it for themselves. So if you're still here at this point, I trust that something here must speak to you at some level and that you're intrigued. And likely you are someone who's ready to make the same discovery that we did too. Send either Dee or I a private message if you're getting this through our social media, or send us an email. The email address is on the screen now, and you can also find it in the video description box if you're watching this by video. This is to arrange getting a private copy of our video series on a 16 gigabyte flash drive that includes our 30-part video series and all the source video materials that go with it. And with that, you will become part of a group of people in the world that are the first to discover some of the most powerful and profound information that we could have ever imagined that we'd be sharing with you. Thank you in advance for your time, your attention, your courage, and your support. We hope to hear from you soon. Be well.